So you are considering making a move abroad, and you've got the question of whether or not you should really spend the time doing a scouting trip. Well, stay tuned because in this video, I'm going to share with you my thoughts on that and 7 things you can do to make that scouting trip, should you choose to take one, more effective and productive. Now, thank you so much if you've already subscribed to my channel. If you have not yet, please consider doing so and clicking that notification bell so that each time I upload a video about life abroad, living in France, or finding the confidence and courage to live life on your terms, you will be notified. My name is Patricia Brooks, and back in 2018, I moved from Richmond, Virginia in the United States to the south of France. And it has been an incredible journey where I've learned a lot about myself, about life, and moving to a foreign country. And in this video, I'm going to share with you some details of my scouting trips. I took 2, and some things you can do to make your trip more effective. Now, I took 2 scouting trips, as I said, so right there should tell you how I feel about scouting trips. I think that they are an important part of moving abroad if you have the ability to do so. I know there's some people out there who can make a move to another city, another state, another country, sight unseen, and things work out for them. But I'm not that person. So I decided to take 2 scouting trips. And the first one was really to find out what city in France I wanted to live in. I knew the country. I knew I wanted to live in France. I just didn't know where. And so that first 2 weeks that I took that scouting trip was all about finding the city. And I had planned to do 4 cities, and I actually did, but I took a day trip to Perpignan when I was in Toulouse, and that was the surprise moment for me. That was the thing that helped me to know that was the place for me. But I would not have been able to get that sense from looking at things on the internet, and so I think that's why scouting trips can be so valuable. You get a sense for the place, you know how that place feels, and there's nothing quite like it. So the first thing that will help make your scouting trip more productive, especially if you don't have a lot of time, is to pick a country. Pick the country that you want to move to. And then from there, pick a couple of cities, if you have more time, maybe 3 or 4, that you want to explore and get a sense of to see if that could be your home. Now, I say this, but this isn't necessarily so easy. I know a lot of people want to move abroad, but there are several countries that they could see themselves living in. And so they're kind of torn. And this can kind of create an overwhelm because until you get more focused, you can't really understand all that you need to do because each country has its own specifics about visas and all of that. And then also, going to 7 different countries to figure out which one is right for you could be cost prohibitive, time consuming, and maybe something that isn't something you'll be able to do. And so that's why I say tip number 1 is to select the country. Now, if you struggle with knowing where you would like to move, what country you would like to move to, I've created a questionnaire that will help you get to that point, help you to narrow down and hopefully select a country so that then you can do numbers 2 through 6 on this list. So number 2 has to do with before you go on your scouting trip, be sure to know what you want to accomplish there. What questions do you want to be able to answer? What decisions do you want to be able to make because of the information you have gained? Those are really key things to understand about your trip, the reason for your going, because then once you know, well, what questions do you need to answer? What decisions will you be making based on those answers will help you to say, okay, these are the questions. So we need to do this thing, we need to do this thing, we need to do this thing, and we need to do this thing so that we have what we need to decide and decide confidently. So number 3 is to plan to have enough time. Now, I know not everybody can take 3 months off and travel the world to find the place they want to move to. If you have that luxury, then maybe you don't even need to select the country just yet, and you can go exploring countries. But if you've got 1 or 2 weeks, like many people do, then I would say that you want to kind of narrow your focus down to 2 maybe 3 cities in that country. If you have a longer amount of time, you can add cities if there are competing cities. But make sure you're planning enough time, because if you're going for 2 weeks, say, you could spend 1 week in one city and another week in another city and get a sense of what it would be like to live there, because you can explore and you can do things that you might not be able to do in a couple of days that will help you get a better sense of the place. And this leads me to number 4, and that is to act as if you already live there, right? When you're there, cook meals at home. Don't eat out all the time. Go grocery shopping and see what kinds of foods are available, what things you can't find there that you might have to substitute or just get used to doing without. Do laundry, right? If you have the ability to do laundry, you'll get a sense of what that would be like. And in some places, like France, where dryers aren't that common, if you're renting a place, you might have to hang your laundry. And that means that if you want to wear something that is really heavy, you may need to wash it a couple of days in advance of wearing that, right? So these are things that you might not think about before you move, but if you kind of make sure you do certain things, you'll get a sense of how easy or how hard life might be for you. And this leads me into number 5, which is, instead of staying in a hotel, stay in an Airbnb or vacation rental by owner, so that you can go grocery shopping and fill the fridge and cook meals and do laundry and get a sense of what it would truly be like to live there. So when you are traveling as a tourist, what are some of the things you do, right? Comment below, and you may want to look at that list and say, okay, since I'm going on a scouting trip, maybe these are the things that we don't do, or we do once we have accomplished our aim of this scouting trip. All right. So on to number 6. While you're there on your scouting trip, make sure you are doing things that will help you as you plan and prepare later on. Now, this is something that I wish I had done a little bit better in my second scouting trip. I did stay in a vacation rental by owner, and that was wonderful. It was a little far out from the center, so I realized that wasn't going to be a neighborhood I would want to stay in. But I did not, and I thought, well, when I move, I'm not going to, I'd heard it was difficult to rent a normal apartment, an unfurnished apartment, so that I was going to go down the path of renting an Airbnb or vacation rental by owner to make it a little bit easier on me. What I wish I had done was reach out to those owners and see if I could take a look at their apartments to see, number 1, where they were situated in the city, number 2, what it felt like. Pictures can be nice, but you can't really get a true sense of the place. As I found out when I moved into the place I booked for a whole year with sight unseen. And I did that because I had to show that I had a place to stay for 12 months in order to get the visa. So that's what I mean when I say do things that will help you to plan and prepare down the line. And so that was one thing that I learned the hard way. And finally, number 7 is to network before you make your move. And so this was something I did during my second scouting trip as well. During my first one, as I said, that was really to find the town or the city. And then the second one was to really get a sense of the place and to see how things were laid out and all of that, and feel what it would be like to live there. And I did network beforehand. Before I made my second scouting trip, I reached out to a meditation center that had a sister center in Richmond, Virginia, and said, hey, I'm going to be in town these weeks. What do you have going on? I'd like to attend a session. And I met with the facilitator of the place. I met a couple of the members. And then when I did move several months later, I felt so much more at ease actually just going to a meeting, because I knew I had made a couple of connections. The same with my Weight Watcher meeting. When I was in Perpignan for my second trip, my second exploratory trip, I went to a Weight Watcher meeting, met the leader, met a couple of the members. And so when I made my move and I was really feeling out of my element, feeling really alone, I was like, oh yeah, but I've already met this person, and so it made it that much easier. Other ways that you can network are on Facebook, expat groups, or other expat forums, and say, hey, I'm going to be in this area these dates. Is anybody up for a coffee? And see who answers, because that's a good way to speak to other expats, maybe even other locals, and get a sense of what they think about the place and get some insider tips. So those are 7 things that will definitely help your scouting trip go more smoothly and be more productive. Now, if you are seriously considering a move abroad, but are feeling a little bit at a loss or would like to feel more confident in taking this leap, then let's have a conversation. I'm going to put a link to my calendar in the description where you can find time for us to talk about where you are, where you want to be, what things might be holding you back, and if working with me might help get you there sooner. Now, if you enjoyed this video, found it insightful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. That is all I have for you today. I will see you again next time. Bye for now.